Welcome back. Oil prices giving up earlier gains today, down more than 1%, about 1 1/3 now amid rising concerns over the U.S. economy. Joining us now, Post 9, famed oil trader Mark Fisher of MBF Clearing Corporation. Virtus's Joe Terranova is also with us. It's great to have you here in person on at Post 9. Welcome.
Thanks, Scott.
One of your headlines today, which I think is the most important for sort of actionable advice for people who are trading this, is you say August will be the most bullish intraday for energy than it's been in the last 4 years. Why do you say that?
We developed these systems kind of based on ridiculous concepts that I come up with, my team comes up with. And from next Tuesday for the following 3 weeks, we could see the most bullish intraday patterns that we've seen in the last 3 years. And that hasn't happened in like 3-4 years from now.
In terms of being long crude?
Long crude, long cracks, that whole sector. Not natural gas, just the whole natural gas. I mean, crude, Brent, heating oil, distillate, RBOB, that whole sector.
So you have your systems, but if you look for fundamentals to match up, maybe with that, is that because of heightened tensions in the Middle East? I mean, here we are talking about a potentially weakening economy dragging down the price of crude. So what's the push-pull on those two variables?
All those systems are all technical AI-based systems. They don't really look at fundamentals. But again, typically what happens in energy is on every weekend, the market usually sells off if nothing happens over a weekend. During the rolls, the market's usually weak. But this is the most intraday bullish week period we've seen in like years.
Is it related to the hurricane season?
No, not yet. No, hurricanes, maybe it could be. I mean, I guess the hurricane season is, coming up, and I think that obviously with what's going on with, I call it climate uncertainty, right? It could be, people, thinking that, cracks could explode, if something happens, in the refineries in the South. But
I feel like you nailed the call, I don't know, it feels like more than a year ago for certain, where you suggested that crude was going to stay in a range of like 70 to 90, which it basically has.
Right.
Given what you've said, and you're certainly talking on an intraday thing, right. So you're really talking about day trading crude. What's a number that we should keep in our heads about where you think crude oil could trade to? Is it coming out of that range?
No, it's not coming. I just think that it's a bullish pattern. We're coming out of that range for sure next year, though. We're breaking out of the 70 to 90.
One way or the other, or?
I think probably both. I think next year every major Wall Street firm is bearish oil, right? And with that being said, the index funds are going to be long. The Bloomberg and the commodity index funds. And the way the market really goes up is like what just happened the past couple of days ago. The market rallied $4 on the Iran news, and that happened because no one's long, right? And so the way you really get the market to move is by getting, shorts in the market, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, everybody on Wall Street's bearish next year. They all think crude's going to 60, 50, and when that happens, it usually surprises a lot of people.
Are they thinking that because they're thinking, well, if there's going to be a recession or a larger slowdown in the economy, well, naturally oil is going to be one of those things that gets hit? One
of the reasons, if Trump wins, they think, drill, baby, drill. But I really that's all convoluted in my opinion. I think that next year you can see the prices above $90 next year.
Interesting. So if I believe that, where do I want to invest most to take advantage of that? What part of the energy spectrum plays that the best?
Well, first of all, to me, being long refinery spreads, heating oil against crude, distillate against crude, gasoline against crude. Again, you're coming into a hurricane season. Who knows what's going to happen here? And the layup trade for me is eventually, hopefully, sooner rather than later, when there's a ceasefire in Gaza, right? And everyone's just going to puke the energies. You wait, I don't know, Joe, 48 hours, 24 hours, that'll be the bottom, because who's going to pay for the reconstruction of that whole area? It's going to be the oil consumer, right? Right? So in my opinion, that will be the tipping point.
What about refinery stocks?
Talk to him. The sector in general, I think is bulletproof.
Valero, Phillips 66, both very strong momentum, good-looking charts. And they've benefited from the tight range that you've talked about,
right,
and a stronger economy.
And if the input of crude gets cheaper, and the cracks stay wider, that only helps them, right? In a convoluted way, I mean, this is going to be going to the La Nina. You've got a lot of weather uncertainty out there, right? I just don't see how the refineries get really hit. You know what I'm doing with the whole, hurricane nonsense we're doing in Florida with, with all the products we're doing and stuff. So.
Can you talk about, you didn't go specific on it, but the usage of AI to trade, like you suggested you are. Your firm designing what sounded like proprietary AI models to help you trade. Is that what the future of certainly day trading is going to look like? Well, you use intraday trading, but you're...
Yeah, but that's not just been the future. That's been what's been going on for the past 5 years. The world's just woken up to it, right? Nothing's really changed. I mean, every day we learn something new, right? But, that whole learning curve and learning from past data and learning from past price performances and price charts, that's been going on forever.
Is it a universal application to all commodities, or is it just specific to oil?
We really only apply it to energy, but I'm sure if we're applying it to energy, people are applying it to grains, people are applying it to other things. We just don't have the expertise in that stuff.
I just feel like AI models can never take into account moves in the economy, geopolitical flare-ups around the world. So how do you factor all that in?
Well, that's where the human element comes in, because again, I think the AI models are going to get commoditized themselves. Eventually, it's going to be AI models compete with AI models, right? If you don't have some of the brain going, well, this is ridiculous, or this is, they're not going to work. You're still going to need the man, behind the strings to look at all the information, because otherwise, this whole space is going to just be everyone's going to eat everyone else's lunch.
Let me ask you lastly, Joe, because it plays into the rebalance. You bought Exxon, right?
Yes.
So that's new in the ETF, and you sold a handful of names, including Marathon Petroleum.
Yeah, the headline is, well, we kept in terms of refiners. I mentioned Phillips 66 and Valero, but the headline is that the energy exposure came down, and it should have come down. The energy exposure basically was cut in half from 10% to 5.5%. S&P energy exposure is around 3.3%, I think. So we're still above the benchmark on the S&P. But given what we've witnessed with a very tight range in energy, there's really not very much there in terms of momentum that you could capture. The one area that I did see is the excitement surrounding acquisitions. And there has been a lot of consolidation. There's been a lot of acquisitions that have happened in the energy space. And if Mark is talking about a 2025 with an oil price above $90 for the viewers, I think that's the real tailwind, trying to identify the targets, because you're going to see a lot more activity in that direction.
We'll leave it there. It's good to see you guys. Joe, thanks for hanging around. Of course, Fish, good to see you here at Post 9 exclusively with us on your view on what's happening in energy. Up